So we have been, for the past few weeks, in the Signs Along the Road to Success series. And I really do truly pray that the series has been beneficial to you, that it has provided you with the insights to help you navigate whatever road you are on, right? We said at the beginning of the series that the signs that we would explore and even the signs that we encounter on the road, those signs are intended to transform the way we think, to inform what we believe, and to form the ways in which we will behave. Because we recognize that the way we think, the way we believe, and the way that we behave is how our souls are shaped. And so when we looked at the no U-turn sign, the no U-turn sign suggested that if we want to get to where we desire to go, going backwards is counterproductive to getting to where we desire to go. Is that right? We said that the two-way traffic sign reminded us that sharing the same road means that there is traffic flowing in opposite directions. And we identified that that sign reminds us of the importance of communing with God and allowing ourselves to get on God's program, to set our minds like a trap so that we could catch the thoughts, the guidance, and the impulses of God. We said that when we allow for there to be two-way traffic, we find ourselves adjusting and preparing our minds and hearts so that we could be on God's program. And we said that that program was so we would judge ourselves as wonderfully made. We would cleanse and discipline the mind toward the end of making it receptive to the ideas of God. And we said that being on this two-way street would give us the opportunity to unfold, the inner kingdom. And then we said that every now and again we come to this road that is a winding road. And we said that the yellow winding road provided us with a general warning, and that warning was that we cannot handle the crooked road the same way we handle the straight road. We admitted, I think through our consent, that most of us handle a yellow sign like we handle a yellow light, as an indication to speed up. And then we said that on last week that we must learn to share the road, because we recognize that each of us is hardwired for relationship. All of us have a desire to belong. We desire to belong so much that we will seek out and put up with unhealthy relationships if it means that we can be a part of a relationship. And so on today, we take our final sign. Push the magic button. So our sign for today is the do not enter sign. The do not enter sign. The do not enter sign simply says that the road is closed for any number of reasons. It might be closed because of the direction that you're trying to go in is inconsistent with the direction that's oncoming. Yeah? The do not enter sign might be saying do not enter because the street or the road that you are considering going down is a dead-end street. I don't know if you know anything about a dead-end street. The do not enter sign is a warning to us that if we decide to go down this particular road, we can virtually assure ourselves that we will not get to where we desire to go. And so we must just avoid going down a street where the sign screams out, do not enter. There are three areas I want us to focus on today as we prepare our minds and our hearts and our souls to explore areas in which we see the sign that says, do not enter, but sometimes we ignore that sign. The first area that I want us to focus on is the area of the way that we think. Say thinking. As I do that thinking, we say thinking is the formulating process of the mind. The way that we think is the way that we bring into our lives the experiences that we have. When we think, we are activating what we know to be the creative process that is within each and every one of us. And this thinking process gives us the capacity to make right or wrong decisions. Sometimes we wonder why we find ourselves where we find ourselves, and it's because that before you got there, you thought the wrong thing. And how many of you know that thinking the wrong thing must invariably bring you to the wrong place? But the law will not be mocked. The fact that you think it's the wrong place does not mean that the system is broken. It means that we may not have used the system properly. We say that there is both value and power in the way that we think. We say the value of our thinking is that it is our connecting link to God. And we say that the power is in our thinking is that if we want to change something that we have in our lives, we have only to change the way that we think. Does that make sense? The challenge I submit to you for many of us is that when we commit ourselves to thinking, we think mostly about what's missing. I was talking with someone that I was counseling, and they just been through a rough breakup, and as we were just kind of going back and forth, I said, well, so how long have you all been apart? He said, well, in 3 weeks, it'll be a month. And I said, I ain't hear you. What you say? Say it to me again. He said, in 3 weeks, it'll be a month. And I had this confused look on my face, and I said, explain this to me like I'm a 4-year-old. If there are 4 weeks in a particular month, and you all, in 3 weeks, it'll be a month, you've been apart for a week? Yeah. So why are you focusing on another 3 weeks of heartbreak and upset and disappointment that you haven't even experienced yet? But many of us think in that way, right? We focus our thinking on what we think is missing. But watch this. We sometimes subtly center our thoughts on the subconscious fear that there will not be enough. And if you subconsciously believe that there won't be enough, you can't help but re-inform your thinking to look at what's missing. Now, here is the problem. The more you look at and think about what's missing, the more what's missing must show up in your life, world, and affairs. Does that make sense? And so the opportunity for us is to, whenever we find ourselves focusing on what we don't have, the opportunity is to remind ourselves, do not enter. Do not enter. We have to be like, we have to use the thinking faculty like a TSA agent. It doesn't matter if you pre-approved or not, you're going to go through some hurdles to get on the other side of this gate. And I submit to you that the way we think and the way we speak and the way we act is our own internal TSA meter to let us know whether or not what's trying to come through, whether or not it deserves to get passed. And so there are some methods for creating what I like to call a healthy mindset. How many of you know that you were created by the mind of God, by God, given all that God is, so that you can make intelligent, purposeful decisions? That's how you were created. You are made to be able to use your mind in a way so that your mind will align with the mind of God so that you can experience what you say you want. That's how God made you. God made you to think in alignment with God. That's why prayer is so important. Because the more we pray, the greater time we open ourselves up to think like God thinks. And so, when we spend time worrying, we are not thinking the way God thinks. You've heard me say it before. Worrying is like sitting in the rocking chair. It'll make you feel like you're moving, and it'll give you something to do, but it won't get you anywhere. Fear is the same way. We can think and hold thoughts of fear. We can think and hold thoughts of what somebody else is thinking about us or doing about us, but those thoughts do not create the kind of future you desire. Thinking and worrying about what might happen that might not ever happen is a waste of your mental, God-given creative capacity. And so we have to be mindful of the unhealthy uses of our mind and of our emotion. A gentleman by the name of Raymond Charles Barker said that every individual has the ability to act unintelligently in a universe of intelligence. Man, can I just unpack that for just a quick minute? So every intelligent person has the opportunity to act or to think unintelligently, even though everything at their disposal is intelligent. How powerful must you be to be able to somehow co-opt and recraft what God has made and repurpose what is intelligent and use it in a way that's unintelligent? How a super must you be? How incredible must you be if you have the ability to change what is made one way and use it in a way that gives you something that you don't want but that you do want? Charles Fillmore says it this way: our thinking is often unwise. Maya Angelou, I like the way Maya Angelou says it. She says, in life, you will face many defeats, but never judge yourself as defeated. You get that? Because, listen, as sure as you're born, you're going to have some struggle. But the key is to not define and judge yourself by the struggles that you go through. So when it comes to thinking about yourself, never judge yourself by what you have done. See, when we judge ourselves by the things that we have done, we mistakenly think that we are our past. There is something to be said for thinking that you are the thoughts that you once held. That's why many of us are stuck now, because we think we are the relationships that we've already left. Yeah, no, when you get home, it'll come to you. Right? I enjoy watching, talking about misjudging. I enjoy watching in Lake Tahoe, they have a golf tournament. And at this golf tournament, the people who play are celebrities and Hall of Famers in their own right, in their own genre, in their own sphere of influence. Right? They are football quarterbacks, retired and present. They are basketball and baseball players. They're actors. They're singers. They're performers. And in their area of influence, in their space, these people are incredible. They are Hall of Famers. They're celebrities. But when I'm watching them on the TV, I think that they are just golfers, and I see them performing poorly on the golf course. If I were naive and didn't know that Stephen Curry is not a golfer, he's a basketball player, I would confuse his golf game for his basketball game. And I would think he was sucky because his golf game sucked. Many of us do that the same way. We think because we perform improperly in one area, we take the judgment of our performance in that area and we apply it to every area of our lives. But what you don't know or what you've forgotten is that when you do what you do that nobody else can do, that's when your genius comes out. So you cannot judge yourself by what you have done, because that is the history of some past thinking. We said that there is value and power in your thought, and if you want to change your life, world, and affairs, you got to change the way you see yourself. You must be willing, you must be courageous enough to change the way you see yourself. Don't judge by appearance, according to John. You judge by right judgment. Is that right? And so when you find yourself judging yourself improperly, do not enter. Don't go down that street. It won't get you to where you want to go. You will find yourself praying about something that's not an issue for God. The second area is to watch how we speak, to watch our speaking, right? So if thoughts become our words, then we have to ask ourselves, what words are we giving God to work with? If our words have power, if our words don't return to us void, if our words accomplish where we send them to, what words are we giving God to work with on our behalf? You've heard me say before that there are 1 million or so words in the English language. Each of us uses about 2,000 to 3,000 of those words. Our vocabulary is made up of those 2,000 to 3,000 words. And then there are another 200 to 250 words that we use to be the commercial that plays under as the underscore of our life day in and day out. So if words have power and words don't return to you void, what words are you using to be your commercial that says to the world, here is who I am and here is how you must receive me? Because watch this, you use those same words over and over and over and over and over again. Many of us are conditioned to use the same words over and over and over and over and over again. And so if the words that you're using is, I am not enough, or I am not good enough, or I was born on this side, or they don't like me, or they think this about me, then you have to change what you're saying, because those 200 to 300 words cannot help you unpack and express the greatness that has been placed in your soul. See, when you know you are special, you have to be bold enough to say, I am special. See, when you know you are the thinker who thinks the thought, you have to have the courage to say, I am the thinker who thinks the thought that makes the thing. And when you understand that you are a thinker, you will remember that it is thinkers that rule the world. See, I got news for you. The problems that appear in your life, they don't come to take you down, they come to make you think. That's why you want to talk to the issues, right? When Jesus said, tell the mountain, be moved. He said, speak to it. Because the master teacher recognizes that there is power in the way that you speak. But if you look at the mountain and start talking about, man, that's an awfully big mountain. Y'all got any idea how we gonna get over that mountain? Ain't nobody ever been over that mountain. Is there a way around the mountain? Can we get around the mountain? Who can teach us how to get up the mountain? You don't have to go up or around the mountain if you will say to the mountain, listen, I ain't playing with you, get out the way. Oh no, I know I'm in church. You get the blessing out the way. You got to speak to it. You have to use your words as a part of your conscious creative capacity. Does that make sense? Many of us unconsciously and unwittingly sabotage ourselves. And we do it with our own words. You have to be courageous enough to, when you find yourself about to say something that you know you should not say, you have to remind yourself and say, no, do not enter. Do not enter. When you feel that urge and that impulse to talk about somebody else's something else, whatever their something else is, remember that what you have to say about them is not a reflection of them. It's only a reflection of you. Catch yourself and say, do not enter. Do not enter. Remember that the words, those 2 to 300, those 2 to 3,000 words, those are completely and totally a reflection of your consciousness. They have nothing to do with anybody else. These are the words that you have said I will use to shape my life, world, and affairs. And so when you find yourself about to enter into the road, I want you to stop and make a list. Make a list of the impediments that might be on the pathway to success. And I do want you to use a word when you come to the impediment. That word I want you to use is the word no. Yeah. Sometimes, see, and I believe that most parents are well versed with this word. But I also submit to you that not only do we have to know how to use it with our families, we've got to know how and when to use it in our own stuff. When you feel your stuff coming up, sometimes all you have to do is say to that stuff, no, I will not entertain you. Because you are the thinker who thinks the thought that makes the thing. Is that right? Let's keep going. So we have an opportunity to not enter when we are thinking a certain way. We have an opportunity to not enter when we're preparing to speak a certain way, and then we have an opportunity to not enter when we are close to acting a certain way. And I submit to you that it's not easy to change a behavior that you have been practicing for a long time. It's not necessarily easy to just transform your behavior. Right? Behavior becomes conditioned. Behavior becomes consistent. And so then transformation of one's acting requires that we be willing to and be clear about what we must leave behind if we are going to enter the future that has been prepared for us. For many of us, the problem is not where we want to go. The problem is, what are we willing to leave behind? Because we think that there is a space for the old you in the new manifestation, but that is not so. Jesus said it this way: you do not put new wine in old wineskins. Because when you try to put new wine in old wineskins, the aging of the old wine is such, or the aging of the old skin is such that it is not compatible with the new wine. And so we keep trying to force new wine experiences into old mindsets. And we're trying to figure out why we're frustrated. We're frustrated because you haven't changed the attitudes that kept you stuck. We're frustrated because we haven't changed the mindset that kept us stuck. I've got this inspiration, I got this idea, I believe I'm supposed to do it, but I don't want to change. I love it when we pray. God, Lord our Father in heaven, you know she's something else. Lord, if you fix her, I will go to church every third or fourth Sunday. But fix her, Lord, she need fixing. You ever pray for somebody else to get fixed? And the stuff in your life start moving? Yeah, that's because the one who needs the fixing is the one that's doing the praying, right? So we have to recognize that we can't just talk ourselves out of something we behaved ourselves into. If we're going to be successful, we have to be prepared to be knocked down. If we're going to be successful, we have to be prepared to change how we think and speak. If we're going to be successful, one of the things that we absolutely must know how to do is every time we get knocked down, we've got to know how to get back up. Someone was asked, what's the key to success? He said, the key to success simply is to get up more times than you've been knocked down. And so all of us have to come to a condition the way that we act in a way that's consistent with where we say we want to be. Here is what I want to encourage you to do, to make sure that the tongue in your mouth and the tongue in your shoe is moving in the same direction. Because most of us, we say we want to move, we say we want to go, we say we want to be better, we say we want to be free, but we don't change. We don't act like we want to be better. And how many of you know that you can't walk forward effectively while you're looking backwards? So remember that success begins with an intense desire. If you want to act right, you've got to speak right. And if you want to speak right, you've got to think right. I'll close with this. There was a gentleman who was the lawyer for Al Capone. And his name was Easy Eddie. And Easy Eddie was wealthy and prospered beyond his wildest dreams as he worked as the attorney for Al Capone. But Easy Eddie had what Paul experienced on the road to Damascus. He had a moment of enlightenment. And in that moment of enlightenment, Easy Eddie decided that what he wanted more than what he was experiencing with his time with Al Capone was to leave a good name for his son. And so Easy Eddie took the action to turn on old Scarface. And as you can imagine, it cost him his life. But what he was able to do was leave an example for his children. As it turns out, this young man would grow up to become a Navy pilot. And while he was in the middle of a war, this young man wound up in the middle of a dogfight. And this young man was flying solo in a plane, but he had so much courage as he was flying that he flew his plane into the enemy plane and wound up having them trail him back to their base. This young man was so powerful, in fact, that he single-handedly outfought a whole battalion of airplanes. This man Butch O'Hara, wound up having an airport named after him. All right? Anybody familiar with O'Hare Airport? Butch O'Hara is Easy Eddie's son. See, so you never know how a change in thinking and a change in speaking and a change in action might lead to a new legacy. And so I just want to encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, that as you are on your road to success, to be sure to think, speak, and act in ways that help you get to where it is you say you want to go. And if you find yourself at any point heading down the wrong road, just say it to yourself, I have the power, and I do not enter. God bless you.